It's inspiring to see what mankind can do, that we can bring and connect all these people together who have never been connected before. But when you look at this, you also have to be humbled by the risk and the responsibility that we're taking on. Each one of those little lines can be a positive connection, but it can also be something that is abused to cause harm. And that's one of the things that we are dealing with right now, and one of the reasons we are investing in lots and lots of teams and technology to deal with these issues is because when we look at this, we don't only see all of the positive benefits, but we also have to see the issues that we have to deal with. Another thing that we're dealing with in the security world at Facebook is keeping pace with the corporate roadmap. You'll see this slide multiple times at F8, the 10-year roadmap. And if you look at those things at the right, they are incredibly ambitious areas of technological research for which the security models and safety models have yet to be defined. So when you think about connectivity, it is a wonderful thing to bring connectivity to people around the world who have never had it. You also have to think of what are the safety impacts of that alongside of the technical security issues with the kind of technology that we use to bring connectivity. When you think about artificial intelligence, you have to think about bias. You have to think about risk. You have to think about how you're training AI and what kind of impact it'll happen on people. When you think of virtual reality, you've got to think about not just the great fun things you can do with it, but what is safety in a virtual reality world? What is abuse? How are we going to detect those things and deal with them at scale when there is no examples for us to build upon? And so today I want to talk a little bit about not just what we're doing now, but how we're thinking about these things going forward. For those of you who don't know me, I actually come from a pretty traditional information security background. I come from the offensive security research world. I started my time in this career getting in trouble with a 300 baud modem and a Commodore 64. And then after college, I worked for a number of companies who did offensive security research. I was proud to be a co-founder of a company that helped break systems and then tell people how to fix them, and then also worked on offensive security and understanding what bad things had happened. And so because of that background, I am really comfortable with the kind of traditional information security responsibilities we have at Facebook. Namely, those are our responsibility to protect the company and our corporate systems, our responsibility to protect our production systems and the user data they hold, and our responsibility to ship secure products. These are the traditional pillars of a cybersecurity or information security career. Now, clearly, all of these areas are still critical for us. Protecting people's data and all the technical work that goes into that is extremely important and something we'll talk about today. But it turns out that doing that is not enough. And I think my personal path here is actually echoed by Facebook overall, in that I personally and the company overall has had to adjust to understand that security is more than building secure, trustworthy systems. Security is understanding how technology can be abused in the real world to cause harm. Over the last 3 years as the CSO here, I've been really honored to meet some incredible people. I've been able to meet with government election bodies who are trying to protect their elections from external interference. I've been honored to be around people who have dedicated their professional careers to protecting children online at places like the Crimes Against Children conference in Dallas. I've been able to go to Africa and meet with NGOs who are promoting civil society and democracy. And when you meet with these people, you realize that the issues they are dealing with are sometimes traditional security issues, the kind of things that we've been dealing with for decades. But a lot of it is the technically correct use of our products to cause harm. And it has become really clear to me and to us overall that we could build technically perfect, totally secure products and still bad things would happen. Because there are people who are going to want to use products that connect the world up to do harmful things. And that is something that we have to focus on as well. So today I'm going to talk about both these areas. We're going to talk about our efforts to protect the company and the products we ship. We're going to talk about protecting people. And then I want to talk about how in both of these goals, we can do better by working better with the overall community. So first, let's talk about how we protect the company and products, the traditional role of information security. There are a bunch of different teams who work on this, and I can't really represent them all. I'm honored up here to be able to represent some of their work. And here's a description of some of the functional areas that we have working on security. I'll go over them really briefly. So there's people who work on corporate security. This is the traditional information security challenge that really every company in the world faces. Our challenge is a little bit bigger because we have some of the best adversaries in the world trying to break into our corporate networks. But in the end, it's not that different than the kind of things you hear from CISOs at lots of companies. We need to think about identity management and access control. We have to do vulnerability management. We have to build secure internal portals and systems that can withstand attack. There's a very large production engineering security component at Facebook. These are the people who secure the actual production servers in our data centers that hold on and that to user data and then provide services. A lot of their work is applying information security ideas at incredible scale. How do you do vulnerability management across a very large number of servers? How do you patch without ever taking your site down? How do you do service authentication and authorization so that if one part of the large ecosystem that is Facebook on the back end is compromised, that compromise does not lead to a large compromise of data? We have a dedicated data security engineering team, and their entire job is to think about how is data accessed and used, how can we protect it, and then something that's surprising to a lot of people that I talk to about this, how to delete data. It turns out when you're dealing with exabyte scale data sets, doing data deletion is actually a really tough technical challenge. Tracking where all the data is, making sure that we're living up to the promises that we make users and regulators, that is the job of a dedicated engineering team. We have a dedicated detection engineering team, so their job is to build the systems that look for anomalies on our network, that alert us and then allow our incident responders and our investigators to move in behind to find and stop security incidents very quickly. We have risk management teams. They do kind of traditional information security compliance work, as well as some really interesting stuff around vendor risk management and permission management, which for us is a very critical thing. And then we have a product security team. And these are the folks that work with the product teams to make sure they ship secure products. And since it's a developer conference, that's actually the area I'd love to dive into a little bit more, because hopefully some of the things that we've learned over the last several years on product security will be useful for you to take back to your companies. Traditionally, application security or product security has been something that you add to the end of a product lifecycle. In the traditional waterfall model of software development, back in the day, people would just put a little thing at the end saying, add security here, right before shipping, right? And that has become clearly not how we can do security anymore. One, people don't develop with waterfall models, but security needs to be something that has to be built in from the beginning. And that's something that we've really taken to heart, not just in how we build technology, but how we build the teams that build technology. So this starts with boot camp. All of our engineers, in fact, all of our technical employees, go through a 6 to 8 week boot camp. I had to do this. It was a lot of fun keeping up with the 24-year-olds, as you can imagine. And in that boot camp, we have dedicated security engineering classes, as well as a security curriculum that is built in to all the classes that teach our engineers how do they build software the Facebook way. One of the things they are taught is that we provide secure libraries that do the most security sensitive functions for them, that have been highly tested, and that they are required to use in any of those situations that are traditionally dangerous. Direct access to a database doesn't happen at Facebook. If you're going to composite together data that comes from a bunch of different users in a web page, that's the kind of thing that we have pre-built libraries that we ask people to use. The idea of peer-reviewed and feedback is built really deeply into our development lifecycle and the culture of how we build engineering and software. Every piece of code is peer-reviewed and checked off before it finally makes it to production. And then there are special reviews for code that is especially security sensitive. And then we back that up through automated testing of our code to make sure we haven't made obvious mistakes and that people are doing the kinds of things that we know can reduce the flaw count in complex pieces of software. That includes static analysis, semantic analysis. There's a dedicated engineering team that does a lot of really great deep computer science language security work to apply the best knowledge from academia to our systems internally. as I said, the security has to be built in deeply into your development cycle, and that has definitely been true for us over the last couple of years as we've transitioned to a continuous integration, continuous deployment model. CI/CD is a software development model that is usually associated with smaller startups, but it has a lot of benefits at scale in that it allows us to iterate our products really quickly. And it also has security benefits in that it allows us to patch our systems very, very fast. In CI/CD, code that is checked in goes through a variety of automated processes and then automatically makes it out into production without a manual merge or release step. And so that sounds really scary from a security perspective because there isn't a specific place where it's really easy to plug security testing in, and that's true. And then that's why we have to build that security testing into a variety of components, parts of the overall lifecycle, and then enforce it through tooling. One of the tools that we've created is a tool called Fabricator. It is a system that helps us coordinate all of the patches that are flowing through our systems, make sure they get code reviewed, make sure that the proper tools and tests have run against them. It's something we've open sourced too. And I do recommend for those of you at smaller companies, thinking about developer tooling and making sure security is supported by your developer tooling lifecycle is actually a really important investment to do earlier because it makes it much easier than trying to retrofit that kind of security testing later in the lifecycle of a company. We also operate one of the world's largest bug bounty programs. We've paid out over $6 million to people who have responsively reported flaws to us over the last 6 years. Now, bug bounties are a great thing for multiple reasons. It's a great final check to make sure that flaws that make it through this whole cycle and make it into production are caught quickly. It's great for us to encourage responsible security research practices, and I like doing that. One of the things that makes me really excited about bug bounties is it gives an opportunity to people who otherwise might not have it to be part of the information security industry. And it gives us access to talent that we might never meet. We have several people on our product security team whom don't come from the kind of schools that Silicon Valley traditionally recruits from, who perhaps do not have the kind of backgrounds that we often run into, but who are able to prove their mettle by finding bugs, documenting them well, interacting with us in a professional manner. And those people got paid out these large bounties, like in the $30,000 range, and then they were offered jobs once they were ready for it. And that has been a great way for us to reach out and to meet new people that, again, otherwise we probably wouldn't run into. Part of doing security at a company as Facebook is also then figuring out these processes that you build centrally, how do they apply to all of your different product lines? So these different products at Facebook actually have widely divergent security properties from what we call the big blue app, or Facebook.com, the main Facebook application. For example, you heard today about us releasing the Oculus Go. So Oculus Go is a virtual reality headset. It's also a small computer strapped to your face. And that means it ships with its own operating system. It ships with a mobile app store. Those things have very different security properties than a web application or a mobile social network like we normally build. And so it's really important for us to build a security team that has the flexibility to take that into account. And one of the key things we do is we have this thing called the Security Partners Program, where we embed people in all of the different product teams to be representatives of the security team and to understand how we can adapt what we have learned centrally to the specific needs of these products and users. Another great example is WhatsApp on the safety side. WhatsApp, as you've heard multiple times this morning, is end-to-end encrypted. None of the content is visible to us. The security and anti-abuse, anti-spam work that we do on WhatsApp has to be very different than what we can do on Facebook or Messenger. And that's the kind of thing that we have the security partners to work together with those engineers and those product designers to try to think about going forward how we can do a better job of adapting ourselves to very specific needs. If you're interested in product security overall, I strongly recommend you go see this talk by Chris Clark today. He's one of our product security managers up in the Seattle office, old friend of mine. He's going to do a really great talk that goes much deeper into product security. One of the areas I listed was also corporate security. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to a product that we've created and released open source. We have found sometimes it's better to build open source tools that have great general purpose use than to go purchase really, really specific product solutions. And a great example of that is OS Query. OS Query is a small piece of software that we run on every corporate and production system all across the world, deployed on a huge number of machines. And what it does is it allows our production engineers, our security analysts, our software engineers to ask questions of this huge fleet of systems and to get back answers quickly and without affecting the performance of the workloads that are actually running on those systems. And so that has lots of great benefits for running a production network, but it also then obviously has great security benefits. And it is the primary tool we use to look for the signs of potential intrusion on any of our corporate or production systems. And so we built this ourselves, and then we open sourced it, which was fantastic because now there are dozens of companies who are using it and contributing their code back into the repository. It's on GitHub. You can go check it out yourself and contribute if you want. And then also something that's been really fascinating to watch is there is now an entire commercial a set of commercial companies that have grown up around OS Query. And so you can go buy services that are commercialized, that are professionally maintained and managed, that are built upon OS Query. And because of the way we've licensed this and released it, we're totally fine with people going and making money by providing good security service on the software that we've put out. And so I definitely recommend for those of you who do full stack work and you're interested in what's going on your servers itself, give OS Query a shot, join the community, see if you want to contribute back to it. So it's not only important to then build security into your products and networks, but you've got to regularly test it. And that's why we have a dedicated red team at Facebook. What our red team does is, on a normal day-to-day basis, is they work with the product teams to go find security flaws and get them fixed. But then they also, multiple times a year, run unannounced exercises where nobody except a couple of us inside the company knows it's an exercise. And the red team goes and pretends to be a real adversary group that we deal with and breaks into Facebook and tries to go after an objective, whether that's a corporate objective or a production objective, in a way that is indicative of the kinds of attacks that we have seen in the real world. And what this does is it tests our ability to prevent flaws from making it into our systems. It tests our detection systems of whether they detect the indicators that are left behind by the red team. But most importantly, it tests the capability of our incident response and our investigations teams to respond quickly and accurately to a real breach. And so doing this on a regular basis not only keeps our people on their toes, but it comes up with these great learnings that then we can take back and kind of share out in a blame-free manner and talk about how can we continuously improve our security processes. Once these red team exercises are completed, again, these are like real technical simulated intrusions on the network, we take the output of that and then we create realistic scenarios that we can practice with the other teams that are involved in a real security incident. So that's like the legal team, the policy team, the privacy team, the product team, the communications teams. And then we run a tabletop exercise where over a couple of days, we simulate the